Hi everybody, welcome. It's Friday, the 28th of February. It's freezing cold in the UK. I'm wearing a jumper and this is February's clip. Just got in there before March tomorrow. My name is Colin Gaffney from The Natural Learning Company. If you've never watched any of these videos before, go to thenaturallearningcompany.com, have a look at the free video section. And I mention it because this one in February is kind of an extension of the one we did in January, where we looked at slide-based presentations, why they don't work, and alternative ways to use instead of endless slides. So if that's curious, have a look and then jump back on this one. Now, so an extension to January. What if there are key messages that you really want your audience to remember, ones that you want them to leave the room with? If that's the case, let's jump into the research of a guy called Georgy Lozanov. Lozanov is known as kind of the godfather of accelerated learning. In the late 1970s, wrote a book around something he called suggestopedic instruction. Not going to get into the detail of that, just going to share with you one critical technique that he used that I got taught by my learning guru, a guy called Tim Andrews from Stretch Learning. It's quite simply this. Let's say I'm running a facilitation skills workshop. I've got key messages that I want the audience to retain. How do I do it? Well, one way I do it is I put posters up on the wall that have incomplete pieces of information on them. It might be a word completely out of context, or it might be a word or a phrase and the letters have got gaps in. Let me give you an example. I've got one here that I used from a previous workshop around cultural awareness. And so as you can see here, there is a poster and it's got some images around it, and then it's got some information and it's got a word in the middle, and there are gaps in that word. And participants will look at that and have what we call an open loop experience. The open loop is this: what's going on there? What's that word mean? I'm not quite sure what that word means. And they try and fill in that gap. So this is what we call an open loop. It's incomplete information. Later, when I address this and talk about, so these various different companies have different ways of deciding, I'm not pointing to that poster. It's in the room, they've seen it. But when I say around these different cultures and around how they do their deciding, how they make decisions, then the audience go, that's what that means. That's what Tim calls an aha moment. It's an emotional response to a word, but it was a word I really wanted them to remember, or a point that I really wanted to reinforce. Why does it help memorization? Because emotional responses, our emotions appear to be strongly linked to long-term memory. Why? Because, well, things that scare us, if you think of what's his name, Skinner, we move away from discomfort towards comfort, away from fear to safety. So I guess we're aligned to remember more those things that scare us or excite us or help us or benefit us. So we create a small amount of an emotional response so we can jump onto that superhighway of memory. So I'm running the facilitation skills workshop. I've got posters all over the room. I haven't addressed them that much at all, but I have closed the loops on them all. And then towards the end of the workshop, I talk about slide-based presentations. We've already explored a whole load of tools around how to overcome the problems with that medium. And then we have an experiment. Then we leave the room with a volunteer who's got a pad and a pen, and then we say, right, 2 minutes. How many of the posters can you remember that have been in the room over the last couple of days? And they write them down. And then they come back in the room. And then they notice that they have remembered so much that's on the walls. This echoes, by the way, Lozanov's work, because that's what he did. In the 70s with his groups, he found a 20% increase in test scores just by the audience absorbing the information in their peripheral vision, just the stuff that was on the walls, in the environment, without being directly instructed. Interesting stuff. So we borrowed that. Tim showed me that. We use it. And then they come back and then they do the big reveal. And wow, look how many they've remembered. And then I say this. So when was the last time? Oh, small point. The figure I'm about to share with you is the minimum. Every group for the last 25 years that I use this technique with, and I check to see how much people are remembering, the minimum number is the one I'm going to share with you. It's usually more. But I share with the group and they say, right, there you go. How many did you get? Well, we had 15 posters on the wall. How many did you remember? Oh, we remembered about 12 of them. What's that as a percentage? Well, give or take, it's around 70% minimum. It's usually 80 and plus. But in Lozanov's research, he found that the audiences that he had remembered around 70% of what was on the walls. And then I close with this. When was the last time your audience could remember 70% of the slides from your presentation? That kind of creates a certain element of power for the audience, because they start to realize that if you want key messages to be memorized, doing the magic trick of this is a really important thing, now you see it, now you don't, because you moved on to the next slide. When we use, and this is in addition to Lozanov's research, I think, when we use posters on the wall, and Tim always used to say, posters are permanent. Posters are also repetitive, you see, because what happens is I walk in from the break, there's the poster. What's that mean? No idea. I have lunch, I see it as I'm going out. What does that mean? Throughout the whole of the time of the session, I get repetition. Oh, I see that image, I see that word. I'm trying to figure it out in my head, and then those loops get closed. We get emotional responses to, oh, that's what it means. Or, ha, got it right, thought that's what it meant. Enhancing recall, retention, memorization of key messages that you strategically want them to have, throw them on posters, get them on the walls, and through the process of repetition as well, you're really enhancing the possibility of them remembering that. That's the tip. That's what we use. And now feel free to experiment with your groups, sharing a few posters around the room and making sure you close them off. Please make sure you close them off. If you don't, they will let you know. It's been my experience of it anyway. So that's February's tip. It's March tomorrow. And don't ask me what we're going to do for March's clip yet. But one final thing, if you don't mind. Excuse me. I said it was real. We do this live, by the way. I don't do any edits. I'm not going to cut this out, because if I was running a training program and I coughed, well, guess what? I'm going to cough. That's the way it is. One final thing, talking about live stuff. I'm thinking about running 2-day workshops around the stuff, around facilitation. I normally do it in-house. For those of you who've worked with me, I've worked with you in your organization. I'm thinking of doing one somewhere for a couple of days where people from different organizations can all get together, share their experiences around learning, communication and change, and learn some of the tools and processes, see it live, practice it live. Small group stuff, maximum of 16 people. Not going to do these, 100 things to make money. I'm not trying to do that. Just to get the right amount of people in a room so that real learning can happen. Nice, small, close-knit group of people. If you think that would be valuable, let me know. And if you've got a location where you think it would be really valuable, let me know. Because if all of a sudden I find there's a bunch of you from one particular country and you think this would be good, then I'll arrange one and we'll put one together. So just a thought. Let me know in the comments box on LinkedIn. If you can do that, that'd be cool. In the meantime, it's Friday. Let's go out and have a lovely weekend. That seems like a good idea. So thank you for your attention. Hope it's useful. See you in March. Don't ask me what I'm going to do. We'll figure that out at some point. And if you've got any comments, if you think it's a good idea to do an open course, please let me know. In the meantime, try that, see how it goes, and I'll see you in March. Thank you.